My name is Michael Waits. Thank you for joining us for this very special edition of Insurance for the New Possible. We are broadcasting live from the Chubb Insurance booth at the Singapore Fintech Festival, the largest fintech festival in the world and a knowledge platform for the global fintech community. We could not be more excited to be here. Now let's welcome Sidharth Panwar, Chubb Studio Partner Experience Product Owner, with whom we will discuss technology to power partnerships, how Chubb Studio is the scalable engine behind new possibilities. Sid, thank you so much for doing this. What do you think about the energy here at the Singapore Fintech Festival? I mean, we're broadcasting live from here. I can feel the energy. What do you think?
Thanks, Mike. This is so electric, right? I'm so happy to be, right? So yes, you can see the people, the conversations, and eventually the collaboration, right? It's electrifying, right?
I feel the power of all the 60,000 people that are here.
Actually, yes. And the conversations that we have in, right, it basically brings in the different ideas and how they are thinking about the whole fintech and the entire ecosystem, right?
I've had an amazing couple of days.
Yeah.
I love the energy in the conversations as well.
Same here.
Talk to me about the partner experience in the context of Chubb Studio and just why this is so important.
Okay, before I come to the partner experience, let me talk about a bit about the customer experience and all, right? Generally, you would have seen a lot of companies talking about, hey, we are doing in customer experience, and so does Chubb, right? And that's something which we have addressed in the past 6 years, 7 years. We have a fantastic customer experience with our partners and for the insurance products and services that we deliver to the customers of our partners, right? But over the period last 2-3 years, we have kind of seen a void in the entire partner experience per se, the entire partner onboarding, the life cycle which our partners go through, right? And I think this is what we are trying to address with the new portal that we just launched, right? The technology and the platform and the brand and the product strength and the underwriting strength can get us a foot in the door, can get us a seat in the table, right? But what would actually deliver and win us the alliances is what a partner experience is, right? And we have moved away from addressing customer experience and now moving on to the partner experience, right? And then when I mention the partner experience, I'm talking about the entire experience from a partner standpoint, right? Which could be, let's say, collaborating and co-creating insurance products,
right?
Which could be very specific, bespoke for their customers, right? Not something which is off the shelf, which you go and hey, here is
this is the same for everybody.
Travel insurance, there's a PA. We are actually collaborating and co-creating the products, and it doesn't stop there, right? With the products, it's about the technology. How do we onboard the partners, their developers? How do they consume our technology? How do we make our technology as palatable and easy for them for their consumption is what we are talking from a partner experience standpoint.
I want to dig a little bit deeper into this, but before we get to that, you said the word void. If there's a void there, if you notice the void and you're filling that void, do you get the sense that your partners actually notice the difference when they deal with you than when they deal with maybe some of their other potential partners, and they feel like, wait a second, this whole experience from front to back actually is different, and that sort of solidifies that relationship?
No, absolutely, 100%, right? And this has come from a feedback, right? And this is very recent that we have launching this particular thing. But the partner experience is something which we have been living, breathing for the last 2 years. It's just that we have put in a more tangible manner with this partner and developer experience portal. But to give you a very quantifiable way of knowing what this partner experience can help us is bridging the entire go-to-market timelines, right? So from what we were seeing initially, like 3 months or 4 months to deliver a particular insurance product and service, we have reduced it just by plugging in the gaps in the partner experience from that 3 months, 4 months to 6 to 8 weeks.
Wow.
So we have half that time. And it's about how do we automate, how do we ensure that they are able to consume what we have to offer, whether it's from underwriting product standpoint or a technology standpoint.
Do you want to talk about the new release of the Chubb Studios? Chubb Studios is a product you've been working on for a little bit, right? For a while. And now there's a new release. It's already out, yeah?
Yeah, it is.
So talk about how that changes the game as well.
No, I think I'm super excited.
I can feel it though in your voice.
Couldn't be happier, right? So, and it has been a culmination of what we have heard from our partners for the last 4 or 5 years that we have been in the market. Chubb Studio was incepted as in it came, we did a massive press release in 2020. And that's the power behind all our B2B2C partnerships.
Right.
Whether it's banks, gig economy firms, e-commerce, you name it, and we have it. And that's Chubb Studio is basically powering the entire thing. But from an end partner perspective or an end customer perspective, it's all dirty plumbing, right? So you can understand, right? They do not know. It's not tangible for them. They don't know what exactly is Chubb Studio, and this particular portal addresses that gap, right? We have basically put in everything that we have to offer, whether it's from our products and propositions, which are vertically aligned, right? So plus the entire extensive suite of APIs that we carry, right? You'll be surprised to know that we have 60 plus operations supported for entire insurance lifecycle, right from starting from product discovery to sales to servicing to payments, claims, utilities, metadata, you name it, we would have it most likely, right? And again, what it does is it basically brings a very critical capability for our partners and their developers to actually come and test it out, right? So they can access the APIs. It's a sandbox environment wherein they can actually go and read about what those APIs are. How do we do the authentication? How do you access it? What kind of a request and a response they can expect? And what does typical onboarding and implementation lifecycle look like? Right.
When Steve Jobs launched the iPhone in 2007 with great fanfare, right? He stood on stage and he said, this product is so far ahead of what everybody else has built or is even thinking about. We feel like we're five years ahead from a development standpoint. Yeah. Do you feel like that the studio gives you an edge that's similar to that?
Absolutely. I would.
You know what I mean, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. I get that. And by far, arguably, I can say we are the first insurer in the world to have such a capability across the product breadth, across the regions and the markets that we serve, and across the APIs capabilities. You have, and again, we are at least 2 or 3 years, and this is essentially a game changer. Yeah. This puts into a league of what insurance has so far not seen, right? We have seen this kind of a capability coming in from banks. We have seen this kind of capability coming in from the payment gateways, but not from insurer.
Can you talk about the sandbox a little bit more? Yeah. Right. So in some cases, you have regulators in the region build insurance sandboxes where they allow people to come and test some stuff.
Correct.
But is it normal for an insurer itself to have a sandbox? Like, what's the significance of this, and what can people actually do inside of it? What is that experience like?
And again, it was built based on the feedback that we got from partners, right? So typically, if you look at it in terms of if you are doing an embedded insurance, if you are plugging in an insurance product or a service or a claim experience in your own ecosystem, you would typically be interacting with what we call as APIs, right? So the insurance products or services are rendered via APIs, and so far that particular whole thing, APIs, we had a long lead cycle, right? We had to basically set up those APIs, that product, before the partner developers could actually test them out, right? So there was a lead time of anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks before they can tangibly touch and feel what that looked like, right? And so what we have done is we have mimicked the entire a production environment kind of a thing, but in a mock and a sandbox place, right? Wherein partners, without even waiting for us to actually go and sign up for anything, they can go and test it out, those APIs. And those are product specific APIs. These are not generic API that, hey, here's
just to see if you can connect to stuff like that. It's very specific.
So very specific to that product. So for example, if you're looking at small business product, that API will specifically cater for those coverages. And the questions that you would be asking for that particular product. And that's what the beauty is, right? We have 40 plus products across all regions, North America, APAC, EMEA, Latin America, and API sandbox for each of the product.
Can I give you an equivalency if you don't mind?
Yeah, please.
When I was working at Goldman Sachs, right, we were building very sophisticated and fault-tolerant trading technology. But the exchange, where we had the same sort of API level connectivity, we actually had like 100 lines going to the exchange. We did, because we wanted to be able to do this really fast, right? But we couldn't test whenever we wanted to. There were specific Saturdays where we had to test, and if we were rolling out new software, we had to wait for the exchange to tell us when. But what you're suggesting is that you've built this thing and said you can connect to it whenever you want. And it mimics the behavior of a live environment completely. So you don't have to wait for us to test. And then once you're happy with that, then you can connect to the live environment.
Then you can connect to us. We will have to onboard the
partner. I understand that. That onboarding has to happen because that's a live product. But for the testing part of it, we still had to ask. And what you're saying is you don't have to ask. You don't have to ask.
It's a public site. You can go and try it out yourself, right? And it also allows us to be front runners in actually exposing how are we powering the entire embedded insurance and experiences.
Do you sometimes get feedback from people that are actually using the sandbox and saying, we tried this, we tried that, you have these 40 products, but is there a way, because during our testing we realized if we had a little bit of this and a little bit of that in a product, we could actually do something we've never done before? Do you get that kind of feedback just from sandbox participation?
It's the first time that we are launching this, right? So we are yet to get that feedback from that, but
you are expecting that,
yes, exactly. We are definitely expecting that feedback coming in, but in all our implementations, generally when we provide an API, right? So there is always a feedback mechanism, and we are pretty open, right? So it's not a constructive or as in constricted set of space, right? That you can't change your APIs, we won't change it. If the partner needs it, there are many times that we have changed our authentication mechanisms, right? So we generally do an JWT based tokenization and authentication. So if the partner needs a different one, we have done that. We have catered to that. We have also catered to specific schemas, right? I'm getting technical, a little bit technical, but at times a product or a particular proposition needs a different schema, or it may need a different kind of what we call as submission mechanism, right? You may want an async pattern, right? Wherein you want to fire and forget. You want to send us this request and we will tell you when the request has been processed, right? So all these capabilities are essentially being built based on the feedback, and we are absolutely open to.
Can we go back to the Apple thing for a second, if you don't mind? Like I said, when Steve Jobs went up on stage and introduced the iPhone, he said we're 5 years ahead or some amount of years ahead, right? But it requires an internal company culture for Apple, at least, but for other companies as well, to be able to say, you know what, we're going to do something nobody else has done before. But when we do that, we're going to engender our own risk. We may not succeed. What is it like? How do you build that culture internally? And how do you feel like it is at Chubb, where it's okay to do that thing inside of a culture that says, we want you to innovate as much as our partners are innovating?
No, I think it's I'm very lucky, right, to be part of the for the Chubb ecosystem. You would be surprised to know that the Chubb Digital, right, works and acts like a small startup with the power of a mothership that Chubb provides, right? But within the Chubb Digital, we are acting like a small startup, right? We are open, as in there is free liberty for us to test out solutions. And mobile SDK that you see here actually came out as part of one POC that we did, right?
What came out?
Exactly, right. So we basically were discussing with one of our partners, largest partners, and they basically said that, hey, I do not have bandwidth or the team or the entire capacity to actually deliver an insurance proposition, which will take me, let's say, 3 months, right? And we said, why can't we just go back to the whiteboard and actually develop a solution for you, right? Which exactly you can just install in your app, right? And that's what Mobile SDK does, right? It's a mini app which is delivered as a library, which the partner has to install in their app, and it runs and delivers the entire insurance products and services. They don't have to lift a finger. There is no development effort required at their end, right? All they have to do is come back and discuss with us what that journey could look like, what that proposition is. We define the journey. We do the integration with the backend and give it them.
Do you feel that autonomy when you come to work every day?
100%, right?
Do you know what I mean, though, right? Because in some companies, it's like you do this thing, do it really well, don't do anything else.
No, I think it's highly federated, right? So people at the lowest, even our engineers and all tech leads have a liberty and autonomy to actually make decisions on their right. But those are limited to what they are, their sphere of work. But if you are talking from a Chubb Studio standpoint, there's highly as in the teams are fairly autonomous, right? They know what they are working on and what they are, the problems that they are solving for. As long as we are solving for, and I think there are two key problems that we are solving for, right? One is how do we make our technology easy and palatable for our partners and their developers? And the second one is how do we go to market quicker? These are the only two problems that we are solving for. As long as you are addressing these problems, you're free to do whatever you want,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Talk about this too. So we talked about partner experience. We talked about customer experience. Can you talk about the developer experience? Because again, if the developers themselves are not motivated and if they're not excited about it, then when they go to the other team, the development team with your cohorts, right, and your partners, they're going to sense that. What is that developer experience like externally when they come to use the product?
I think that's also something which we have addressed with this one, right? I have to admit, right, it was fairly broken until we have launched this particular thing, right? So to give you an example,
please.
So if you were doing or delivering an insurance product in your ecosystem, you will have to basically rely on our APIs.
Right.
We will end up sharing those APIs manually. There is a long PDF or Excel sheet.
Right.
There's a mapping sheet.
Right.
You have to share credentials, which are done on a secure channel, and then you test it out, right? And then you have to basically do configuration and make changes to them before you promote into production. So it's highly manual process. There were silos and a lot of communications which are happening on or either email or a messenger or a WhatsApp.
Right. So I
and all,
spoke
right?
to this person.
Exactly.
I need to speak to this person, all that kind of stuff.
And so what we have done is we have eliminated that and digitized the entire onboarding process.
The whole process.
Right? Exactly. The entire process is digitized. So what, and this is the standard way the industry operates, right? If you look at the banks, right, they have developer portals, they have payment gateways, have their developer portals, right?
Yep.
So when we onboard a partner, right, so we will be onboarding them onto our developer portal. They will get a secure link for registration. Once they complete registration, they can invite their team members, the fellow team members who will be working on that. They would have access to the entire API, the documentation, any other things which they need, including the credentials, the security keys. They can test it out, their experiences using our APIs. Once they complete that, they can actually promote the same stack at a hit of a button, right? So they don't have to go through the whole process of doing a production release, doing a releasing. It's at a click of a button. They can promote the configurations that they have or our configurations into a higher environment and be ready, right? So you imagine you are basically cutting down the production timeline, which was taking anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks into a matter of minutes.
Right.
And this is where it basically brings down but we don't stop there, right?
Go ahead.
For all APIs, they would have access to statistics. So today, right? So if something goes down, right? So they have to basically come to us and say, hey,
what's going on?
What's going on?
Right.
How are my APIs performing? What's the SLA of this API? We are putting on dashboards wherein they can log in the same environment. They can actually go through the stats and the dashboards themselves.
So they can look at it
on real-time basis. Yes, exactly. They don't have to do it, right? So it's in the platform.
No, but I understand. But that actually makes it really cool. Is it mobile as well? So if I'm sitting somewhere outside my office, I have a connectivity to something and I can look at it?
I'm afraid it's not mobile agnostic as of now.
Yeah, but I mean, if I have a laptop with me.
Yes. Right? Generally, developers would be accessing the platform on a desktop.
On a laptop,
so we are not catered for, because the need was not there. But in case if we go forward, there may be a scenario wherein they are accessing the same platform on a larger mobile devices like an iPad and all. Yep. It works seamlessly there.
Yeah, I guess the point that I was trying to make was they can have access to it anywhere as long as they log into the portal on their PC, on their desktop, or on their laptop. That gives them an intense amount of power too, because then they feel like they're actually engaged with the product from the day they start. Yeah,
and again, just to spend maybe a couple of more minutes.
Please
right?
do.
So there is a long list of features which are in pipeline, right? Which we are trying to address, right? Another gap that we currently see in the partners is what we call as incident reporting, right? Say, or at times they don't have access to the uptime of all our assets, right? They do not know when an API go down at times, right? Not always. So we will be putting up our APIs and the whole uptime up for them to actually have it on a real time basis. We will also be giving them capabilities. So rather than calling someone or dropping a mail to everyone or anyone, they can actually go and log in an incident themselves, right? Which will be then triaged and put into a relevant bucket. And so that would essentially mean that the current incident reporting and resolution times that we have will be able to cut short that.
Yeah, because you're going to give them access to a digital platform to be able to see all their stuff on a dashboard, but then also to create a ticket, essentially, right?
Exactly.
Through some other mechanism that says, I need to have this resolved because this is down and I saw it. And I want you to know that I'm no longer getting the thing that I need, which is kind of cool. In other words, they're getting direct access to your support team. Yeah, that's a game changer as well. I feel like we could talk about this forever. I'm going to let you go. Sid, this was awesome. We have to do more of this.
No, thanks. I'm super excited. And I'm hopefully that our partners would see the value of what we are doing, right? So they would be coming in and more than happy to see feedback coming in.
Absolutely.
There's always room of improvement. It's never a perfect. And we are in ensuring that we basically get to a stage wherein it will be a perfect one day. But we're happy for that.
Super. Thank you
for
again.
Your time.
Don't forget to follow Insurance for the New Possible on your favorite podcast platform and on YouTube to stay up to date on all of our amazing and informative content.